I know a lot of you have heard many people talk about patient communication, and a lot of people have a different spin on that. And I would say I've been a hygienist for over 30 years and I have done everything wrong. So let's just go ahead and level set with that. And to me, it was a game every day because you get 8 new patients, and what can you do? Could you convert someone? Do you make someone angry? And I've really been fortunate in the years to have some awesome training, meet some great coaches that have helped me through. So what I'd like to do is just focus on some 3 simple things that you can implement into your practice to make a difference tomorrow. So we in school, we are learned to educate. And there's nothing wrong with that, except for we leave school with all of this dental jargon that we speak, which is mesial, distal, buccal, lingual, cementum, dentin, and hemorrhage. And my very favorite one is suppuration. I mean, who could make pus sound so sexy, right? But the problem is our jargon doesn't really line up with what our patients are hearing. And we know from statistics that patients only hear about 7% of what we're trying to say to them verbally. So make a difference by making a quick impact of getting on their level. So one thing that really made a difference for me is using the technology that we have today with intraoral cameras, digital photography, and also scanning to gather that information, put it in front of the patient, and then ask them the most important thing, which is, what do you see? Because we don't see things the way that our patients see them. So if you start with this question, then they can go ahead and share with you exactly what they see, which is usually going to tie into their chief complaint. Now, what are you going to do after that? You've got all that information. The second thing that you want to do is then ask permission, because we don't want to talk at our patients. We want to then ask our patient, can I share with you what I see? Because now you've asked permission for them to hear the things in your assessments that maybe they didn't want to hear if you were just telling them anyway. This to me was the most impactful way for me to actually connect with my patient and help them feel like we were on the same level. So on that, as soon as we're done doing that, we also want to make sure then we continue that co-discovery with them by using terms that they understand. So we don't want to tell our patients, hey, you've worn down this tooth. Okay, well, they've worn down that tooth. Or maybe they have some jaw pain and we need to explain it to them. Well, your TMJ joint and your muscles and your this and that. I like to use things that are human and that patients can understand. So if a patient does have a crack in their tooth, I would say a crack in your tooth is like a crack in a windshield. You know that it keeps on rolling, right? So we want to make sure that we address that ahead of time. If a patient needs a crown, okay, I explain it to them this way. If you had a post and you were going to hammer it into the ground and the post was made of wood, if you did not have a cap on top of that post, what would happen? Of course, the wood would split. So those are ways for patients to say, okay, well, I understand that. Or if they have TMJ problems or jaw joint, I think about that like a porch swing that has 2 chains. Well, what if one chain was longer than the other? Well, then we've got a problem with balance. So when we look at that, when patients can kind of connect on that, it's a way for us to say, hey, I want you to know what's going on in your mouth, but I also want you to know on your terms so you can understand it. So my big tips to you, ask a question, ask your patients what they see, then ask permission to share what you see. And then please, you lose your dental degree and get on your patient's level so that you can have better outcomes overall. So when I incorporated this in my practice, I became my patient's advocate. And by being their advocate, they were way more willing to hear about the solutions that I had to the problems that they came into the practice with, instead of going up front and saying, I'm not going to do that because surely the doctor has to make a payment on a car or a boat or something like that. And you know, you've all heard that. So if you want to have a great patient experience, I would suggest that you incorporate those 3 awesome strategies.